I was born in South Korea. I read a lot, and I was always drawing or painting. I really wasn't much of an outdoor kid. I'm not the girl who's ever dreamed of being part of an international spy ring or whatever it is.
49-year-old Christina Chapman helped the North Korean government avoid sanctions,
conspiring in a scheme to defraud the U.S.
running what they called a laptop farm.
Christina Chapman's laptop farm alone generated $17 million.
Computers started showing up at my house. I had no clue.
Christina Chapman was conspiring with North Koreans to infiltrate U.S. companies.
Did you know that you were working with North Koreans?
I thought I had a job that was legitimate, unusual, but legitimate.
With the goal of creating revenue to send to North Korea for their munitions development.
There was something in particular about her that sort of struck me as there's a deeper story here.
I don't know what to do. I'm really scared.
She had a hard life. She didn't quite understand what she was getting into.
Look, Christina Chapman is lying.
She was hosting a very large amount of laptops. We know what we're dealing with here.
I don't think there's any question. Chapman was a major facilitator.
It's very upsetting. They're not in handcuffs. She is.
We know what you're doing. Sooner or later, we're going to catch you.
Being born in South Korea is a huge part of my identity. Ever since I was a kid, I would put on my mom's hanbok and dance around the house. And I've never lost the love for South Korea or the fascination with it. There are times that I know that I was happy as a child, but there are a lot of times when I know I felt out of sync with the rest of my family. When my mom was first diagnosed with cancer, I didn't have a lot of people around me. It was me and my dogs. I wanted to get some sort of degree that would allow me to make enough money to support her. While I was scrolling through Facebook one day, I saw something about software engineering and this particular boot camp. The goal was to find a job as soon as possible, preferably a remote job, because 2020 was one of the first marked decline in my mom's health, and I wanted to be there for her. Towards the end of the course, I had gotten several different job offers, and then we went into COVID. I shower at Planet Fitness. Yeah, because we don't have running water at home. Most of the job offers went away with the exception of one. The job offer came to me through LinkedIn and basically said that they wanted me to be the face for their company. I would be the person in between them and the clients. It was about building websites, maybe doing database work. And I need people that are better at coding than I am because I am crap. We did one job that way. And then at the end of 2020, I started getting computers in the mail. In the beginning, there were only 3 or 4 laptops that arrived at my house. Towards the end, I think I had around 40 active laptops. There were some computers that once I set them up, I never touched them again. Other computers, I would have to connect them every morning, basically plug them in, open them up, turn them on. The laptops I sent to different places were all at the request of the guys that I was working with. A couple of computers went to the UAE, maybe 1 or 2 to Pakistan, Eastern Europe, possibly Nigeria, Egypt. I can't remember all the places, but the majority of them went to China. I know that software engineering is an international job, so it never felt suspicious to me. And I guess I was so desperate for a job at that point that I didn't really ask too many questions.
김성은 동지를 현지에서 조선인민군 총참모장 이영길 동지와 해외 군사작.
North Korea is a black hole. It's isolated. It is completely cut off from the rest of the world. Coming out of the military, doing a human intelligence collection, eventually wanted to switch over to cyber operations and noticed there wasn't really a good grasp on things that were North Korea focused. No one wants to touch North Korea with a 10-foot pole. And once you start getting in, you realize, I see why everyone was avoiding this. It's less of a government and more of a criminal enterprise. Kim Jong-un came to power. He's a millennial that leaned into tech. He knew cyber was going to be the end game and really wanted to focus on that high yield, low cost return on investment. And you can see that he's building it. They're learning and they're getting better.
North Korea has been under very heavy sanctions for a couple of decades, and they've come up with a variety of ways to evade those sanctions. They've basically adopted the stance of international organized crime. This started with things like making methamphetamine in factories in North Korea. Then they shifted to large-scale digital bank heists. Then the latest evolution is really this IT worker scheme. Thousands of North Korean students are sort of pulled into this program where you get trained in IT work, and then they have applied for and they've gotten a job at an American company by pretending to be American. Now, then they have the problem of they have to appear as if they're actually American. They used stolen or fake American identities. They'd have AI-built resumes, and they'd use those to get remote jobs.
It's staggering to see just some of these IDs and some of these resumes that you can off the bat realize that they're fraudulent. Just simple Photoshop and different types of AI generation, whether it be from the resume building to the actual interview, is working.
These companies thought they were hiring Americans for these jobs. Names like NBC Universal, Mass Mutual Insurance Company, Nike, Boeing, Palo Alto Networks, which is a giant public cybersecurity company. All of these companies have, at some point, had a North Korean working for them.
Think of your third-party contractors. Think of your own remote workforce at anyone's organization. They're looking to land those type of jobs to continue to get that slow, steady drip of money coming back into the regime to fund the regime. Weapons, domestic efforts, however they want to use it.
That's the scheme, is they collect salaries, and it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, a year. Christina's sort of function in the network was as what's called a laptop farmer. Companies shipped work laptops to what they thought were remote US employees, but the computers are actually going to American facilitators. They went to Christina's house. She set up each computer, install remote access software like AnyDesk, and then let the North Koreans log in from overseas, making it look like they were working from inside the US. They basically can't pull off this scheme without these American facilitators.
I did have what I would consider like an office relationship with a lot of them. Sometimes we would talk about holidays. I knew which ones had girlfriends. They would call me, "You're like our sister, you're our friend, you're part of our family."
I'm gonna start taking care of my clients. Computer business.
I finally found the job that is perfect for me, that will work with my schedule and allow me to be home with my mom when she needs me.
My first purchase. First. There will be more.
Initially, it was probably $900 a month that I was making. And then all of a sudden I got like 10 or 11 computers all within a couple weeks time. So that went up to around 4,000.
Today is going to be a bit of an out and about day because I have a lot of errands to run for clients.
The most lucrative month was around $12,000, but it was kind of average between like $6,000 and $7,000.
I spent a lot of money, way more money than I should have, because I wanted to.
Things were going pretty well for her. She was making money from the North Koreans. She had a more stable living environment.
I think it looks kind of good on me. What do you guys think? Let me know.
And then her mother was given less than a year to live and wanted to move to Arizona. That's when things really started to kind of come apart.
It's been another busy morning for me. And I start at 5:30 in the morning. And it's now almost noon. And I'm just now getting to eat.
So many times I wanted to throw my phone. They would push and push and push and push until I gave in. One of the things that they had asked me to do in my role is to process checks for them. And they would have me cash them. I did that with the understanding that the people on the checks were somehow involved with the company. These were people that I trusted, dumbly trusted, but I still trusted them. They knew my name, they knew where I lived, they knew my phone numbers, they knew my bank accounts. He would say, "Can this person use your debit card information?" I'm like, okay. But I didn't know how they were using that.
My name is Dawson Anglin. I'm a forensic accountant with the FBI. There was some reporting from companies that had hired individuals that traced back to Christina Chapman, and they had alerted the FBI. We started looking as to how we could approach the case. Her address ended up being tied to jobs being held in other people's names. And so we issued some subpoenas. We started looking at shipping records. Some of the shipping records was showing that she was shipping some of the laptops into China quite a bit. There's a small city in China called Dandong. It's right across from North Korea, used as North Korea's access point. We had the shipping records to know there's definitely quite a bit coming in, but it was more than we anticipated. We also started looking into her financial statements. We started noticing that checks were being deposited into her account that were not in her name. And so we were curious, what did she know and who are these individuals?
The first time I felt like something wasn't quite right, I had gone online and like, can US companies employ foreign workers in foreign countries? And Google was like, yeah, that's fine. You know, I contacted a lawyer and I asked some basic questions. I was basically told by this lawyer that it's a gray area. It's not legal, it's not illegal. At that point, I still didn't know if what I was doing was okay or wasn't okay. I didn't really start questioning it until a couple of conversations that I had with a couple of the guys where one of them said that he had no idea who the guy was, whose name he had been using. And I'm just like, what do you mean you don't know? And then another guy said I didn't have to worry about him because his identity was completely made up. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? point, I don't know how many checks I had processed for them, but I stopped. Like, I would yell at them, like, don't have me doing things that you guys know is illegal. A lot of times I felt almost like I was a slave to them. They didn't care if I needed to eat. They didn't care if I needed to sleep. When my mom first went into the hospital, I had told all the guys that my mom was in her last couple days and I wanted to stay with her. And one of the guys was like, you need to get home and do this thing for me. On the day she actually passed, which was April 20th, at 2:22 or 2:21 in the morning, I had a group chat with the guys so I could message them all at once. And I told them that she passed away and I would probably be late. A lot of them didn't bother to check the group chat. They didn't care what I had to say. And so even before I left the hospital, I was already getting messages yelling at me that they were going to be late for their job. And some of them made me apologize for being late. Howdy people. So today I think is day 7 and I did not make my own breakfast this morning. My clients are going crazy, so I just got a smoothie bowl. It's an acai smoothie bowl. And
we were aware of the social media and we did see some videos that were of concern. So you can see she kind of flashed over at the laptops real quick. You can see him in the background throughout the shot. She's in her working office and she's looking around. She has a phone and all of a sudden you see kind of flash over the screen shelves of laptops. I think we counted at least 10 or 12 laptops in that one shot where she just happened to turn and we said, okay, we know what we're dealing with here. When we got to the house, the agents go in with weapons drawn. We found that she'd left in the middle of the night. We were still trying to conduct our investigation. We didn't feel like we had enough. So we walked through the rooms. There was one room that was just shelving and laptops. There's like 30 or so laptops that are open and seemingly actively operating. But then you start looking around in the room and there's just stacks. So there'd be a stack of like 5 or 10 laptops that are closed and just sitting in the corner of a room. And then you go over here and there's a package that hasn't quite been opened all the way yet. And you look and there's another laptop and they were everywhere. You could see the Post-it notes on the computers. So it would have the US stolen identity victim's name on there. And then it would have the company name. Sometimes she'd even put a password. And so it was kind of the very vital information that you would need. It was helpful to the investigation as we went forward.
I was in California. I was there following the J-pop group that I like when I got a message saying that the FBI was at my house. I was just like, why is the FBI at my house? I didn't really understand it. I had contacted my boss. I'm like, okay, the FBI is at my house. What is going on? And one of his first reactions was, delete everything on your phone. I was floored and I felt sick to my stomach. The other guys that I had worked with started blaming me, telling me that you knew this was coming. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then they told me to stop using Skype and to download Telegram. I still didn't completely understand everything that was going on.
After we executed the search warrant on Christina Chapman's residence, we looked into the evidence and we decided we need to bring in the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit.
IRS Criminal Investigations' role in national security threats. We're part of the Counterintelligence Task Force, and we're really good at following the money. The FBI had already conducted search warrants at Ms. Chapman's residence. They'd already obtained troves of laptops, and what they wanted to do is quantify a loss. And quickly, I got to work. In this case, Chapman and her group were using actual U.S. citizens' tax identifying information, social security numbers, dates of birth, names. We had roughly 70 victims that we identified and reached out to. Several of them, their identity would be used dozens of times. They're getting these statements that they now owe $500,000 in tax. And a few of them were shocked. They didn't know, oh my gosh, my identity was stolen and somebody out there is trying to be me. It's a long process with helping try to clear your name. Shortly after the indictment, we start preparing for an arrest. Most IRS criminal investigations we're involved in can go years. This one was pretty quick. A couple weeks later, we actually did the arrest.
Christina Marie Chapman was recently arrested in Litchfield Park and indicted in a series of complex identity theft cases that have been generating money for the North Korean government.
According to the federal indictment, Christina Chapman was working out of her house in Litchfield Park. Someone approached her on LinkedIn, asking her to be the U.S. face of their company. What that meant was getting paid to run what the FBI called.
I was in the house. I heard my name being called, and I walked out front, and there were FBI cars everywhere. They said that I was being arrested. They took me into CCA in Florence, Arizona, and processed me. And then I was in a holding cell, very cold holding cell, until, I guess it's called an arraignment, in front of the judge. He's the first person who actually mentioned North Korea and the possibility of North Korean spies. And I started bawling. I was born in South Korea. South Korea is important to me. North Korea is not. I'm not the girl who's ever dreamed of being part of an international spy ring or whatever it is.
Okay, so this came in last night. This is how much time the government is asking for your sentence to be.
They're looking at the maximum. I've already had lots of people send me DMs on TikTok that have been following the case, calling me a traitor and saying that I would be better off dead and lots of other things. I'm also going into this at age 50. So having never been in trouble in any significant way in the past, all that scares me. But I know that somebody has to pay for it.
Arizona resident Christina Chapman takes what may be one of the longest walks of her life. She's going to court for sentencing after pleading guilty to criminal charges including wire fraud and identity theft.
Do you have any message for North Korea? What are you expecting today?
All right, let's go in here.
So today, a Christina Chapman of Arizona was sentenced to 102 months of imprisonment for conspiring with North Koreans to infiltrate U.S. companies, including Fortune 500 companies, with the goal of creating revenue to send to North Korea for their munitions development.
I think that the offense by Christina Chapman was so intentional and it was so egregious that there was no room for mercy in a case like this. We're talking not just about a fraud, we're talking about national security. We're talking about North Korea, that is an enemy of the United States, that is seeking to build its munitions and deployment so that they can then use that against the United States. This is a very serious case, and it's not just someone who just kind of crossed a line. She crossed a major line. And we believe that the sentence in this case was appropriate given the egregiousness of the crime.
Well, it could have went worse. We agreed to a range of 94 to 111 months, and the judge gave her 102 months. The way they characterize things is disheartening because they know that she's a poor woman with mental health struggles and that she's never had anything and that she's also not some criminal mastermind who's, involved in this sophisticated scheme. Like I said in my sentencing remarks, she's a pawn. She's insignificant. She's easily replaceable. And obviously she's gonna have to deal with this for the rest of her life. I don't think justice was done today, but I often walk away from this building feeling that way.
Now, wait a minute. Now, I understand that she is saying she didn't know anything about it.
She's claiming that she knew they were overseas workers but didn't know they were North Korean.
Full of and I want to say something. Her own messages make it clear that she knew she was working for enemies of the United States. Example, I just found out from a lawyer, July 1, I can get in some serious legal trouble for doing this. 620, I can go to federal prison for falsifying federal documents. I don't buy this innocence. It's her own words that deep six her.
There are companies at this very moment in the United States who have North Koreans working for them and they don't realize it. And there are schemes identical to the one that Christina Chapman was involved with that involve different facilitators who may or may not realize that they're helping North Koreans. And those facilitators are hosting laptops in their apartments, in their homes, as we speak right now.
We still have a hard time grasping the problem.
We're the United States of America. We're supposed to know what we're doing.
Collaboration and communication is key. Getting public and private sector on the same page, addressing the problem.
And it is a very simple thing for American companies to start checking on who is working for them. They've got to make sure that if they have remote workers, are they really remote American workers? Are they working in the United States? Are they who they say they are?
We are playing catch up. These guys are chess pieces set up all over the world. It's on us to find that defensive countermeasure and continue to play the chess game.
This call is from Christina Chapman. There's a lot of grief when it comes to losing your freedom. The freedom to choose when you're going to eat, when you're going to wake up, when you're going to sleep. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm still sort of in shock. To the people that were hurt, I am incredibly sorry. I feel horrifically bad for them. And that's probably the part of all of this that gives me the most shame. That shame and that guilt I will feel the rest of my life.
Chapman.